A very small village in Dolpa, Nepal, located at 5,000 meters high, where people live as nomads. I can still smell the fresh, crisp air and the warmth of my father's back as he carries me for days through the mountains. Due to land topography, we have to literally walk 10 days through the countless mountains from the nearest airstrip to return to my birth village. My 5 sisters and I could not survive there due to medical reasons. So from 1995 on, my parents had to walk, literally walk for a month to get us medical help and to bring us to the capital city in Kathmandu, one by one, for medical treatment. First, my eldest sister, Dorje. She had a severe scoliosis and had only a year to live. Luckily, she was able to get surgery in America that saved her life, thanks to her new American family. Today, she is a teacher and graduated of Bachelor in Arts at the University of Boulder, Colorado. She hopes to spread the message of helping others in need and providing education to the young children. She is currently writing a book about her life, which might come out next year. Few years later, my other sister, Sumchok, was brought in Kathmandu. As a baby, she rolled into an open fire and her hair was seriously burned and needed surgery. Thanks to her new Dutch mother, she was able to get surgery here in the Netherlands that saved her life and that helped her to walk again and get her hair back. Today, she has recently completed her Bachelor of Arts here at the University of Aki in Enschede. And now she considers herself as a visual artist. She has been involved in helping children in Nepal by singing and selling her paintings. Her compassion towards helping others has also inspired me to do the same. Then me. One night, I nearly died of measles. I was 8 then. My family and Tibetan monks, they stayed up whole night praying and chanting that I would not die. It was one of the scariest nights for my parents because they already lost 5 other children and they feared that I was going to be the next one. My parents did not know what was wrong with me and they did not have any money to take me to the hospital. As a result, they had to beg on the street to cover my medical expenses. I was getting worse and worse, and my parents were started to feel hopeless at a certain point. Then suddenly, one day my mother, she discovered a children's home called ROPKA, which means help in Tibetan language. This is how ROPKA found me, sleeping in that little cartoon box for days. It was one of the difficult moments because when they found me in this little cartoon box, my life changed dramatically. My parents knew that the life in Dolpa is very difficult, so they felt that the education is the best option that would help me to get a better future. So they left me in the children's home and went back to the village. During my first visit in the children's home, I was welcomed by 50 other brothers and sisters who had similar family background as me. Children of poor family, children who were abandoned by their parents, and even orphans. I spent 14 years of my life with them, where I got nurtured, lovingly cared, and got quality education. And I was so happy there. Most of the people have the perception of children's home as a very sad, left out, and a very lonely place. But for me, it was a place where I could consider home, sweet home, the real feeling of home, And I was really happy there. My mother, she gave birth to 11 children, almost a football team. 5 of them passed away due to lack of proper nutrition. Having at least 1 or 2 sons in our family, it is a very important tradition Because girls, they get married off, and son remains the prime responsible person to take care of the land and the family tradition. And so once my younger brother passed away, I became the only son in the family, which meant more pressure and responsibility to take care of. Imagine 2010. I had completed my high school and I was planning to go to college. And in that same year, my parents were also in the city to visit us like they do every winter, because in winter it's very cold and it is likely that they always come down to the city. However, this time they came up with a very unexpected message. They wanted me to come back to village, take care of the land, marry a local girl, and have a family. I was then 17. I, on the other hand, having been grown up in the city, I wanted to study further, make a career, follow my dreams, travel around the world. I mean, what would you do? After having endless discussion about convincing my parents about my choices, our consensus to come into mutual understanding did not work out. As a result, it became a huge dilemma for both of us. I personally felt very pressured and guilty for the fact that I could not please my parents for what they have asked for me. It was one of the difficult years for me then, because I had to make a very challenging decisions, either to go back to village or to pursue my dream. I was trapped in so many confusing thoughts. Then again, another miracle happened in my life. I always had an email contact with my sister and her new Dutch mother, who is actually present here in the audience today. They offered me an opportunity to study here in the Netherlands, hoping that I would get a better future and would be an excuse to escape out of the marriage stress and the guilt that I was feeling. So after saying goodbye to my two younger sisters and all the children in the children's home, I was there in Holland in December 2010, where I celebrated my first Christmas in the West. The first few months of my experience in Holland was a huge culture shock. I felt like a fish coming out of the sea. First, the language. It was so complicated, where often I had the feeling that I had to drink water after every few sentences. And eating with knives and forks, it was so uncomfortable, you know? I was used to eat with bare hands. Yes, and most importantly, I was wondering and questioning the whole time, why everyone is so tall? I mean, even the children's. So after dealing with so many cultural clashes, I gradually started to learn to speak Dutch, started to get used to the environment here, started to like food. Boerenkool met worst. Broodje kroket met frikandel. And with the height, I kind of realized and gave up, klein maar fijn. It has been almost 5 years that I've been living here in the Netherlands, and I even had the chance to go back to village in 2011 with my sisters. We now have a documentary film titled The Only Son. It is a documentary film made by a Dutch filmmaker, Simonka de Jong. It is a documentary based on my dilemma whether to go back to village or to pursue my dream. Today, me and my parents, we live a life where there's one beautiful book with completely two different stories in it. We have a huge generational gap, and we are still trying to find out a solution for it. Regardless of our complex circumstances, I still love my parents to death. And one of the strategic goals of my life is to be the pension fund for my parents later and keep supporting them. During my stay in the Netherlands, I've met so many warm-hearted and kind Dutch people. My Dutch neighbors, sponsors, family, and consistent motivational support from my friends and teachers here at the Saxion University. Today, every time when I get the chance to speak about myself, I feel very delighted to spread the words and deeds of ROPKA, the children's home where I lived and grew up. Because with their deeds, I hope that many other children who are left out in the street could be helped and get brighter future. During my stay in the Netherlands, I've met so many warm and kind-hearted people of all ages from different cultural backgrounds, who were completely strangers for me at first, and now they have become my relatives. Because so many reached out to help me live again, I now want to give back and help others in need. The definition of help for me, according to my experience, is that we cannot help everyone. Today, when I look at this picture where I was starving, begging for help, I've kind of realized that these are the people who I'm the result today. The definition of help for me is that we cannot help everyone. However, we can at least help part of them. And if each and everyone in this room applies the same principle, same basic principle of giving a helping hand, then the world will be definitely a better place.